All right, so we're just going to get straight into it, no messing about. Two hot topics that I've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of clients and other coaches in the space are the importance of strength and conditioning all season round, especially in season, and finding purpose within your training. Now, these are two separate topics, but they are kind of going to cross correlate because obviously strength and conditioning in season and has a huge relevance to the purpose that you find within your training, within the sport that you're playing, whatever it is that you're doing. And a big question that I always ask and throw at any clients that I'm working with, anybody that's in the space, is what is your driving factor for the why? And that question is super important, and it's super important. It's the reason why I ask my clients that, or the people I'm about to take on board, is if they don't know their why, I don't have the answers on how I'm going to get them to where they need to get to. And the big problem I find with a lot of people is they actually don't know their why. And when I say why, I'm talking about specifically here. Because people all want to get better. No one wants to get worse. Everyone generally wants to improve the physical qualities of their well-being, their mental qualities of their well-being. Overall, everyone is always looking to advance. Now, how, and more specifically, why they want to advance is a different question. And understanding the whys is super important in order for you to actually have fulfillment in what you're doing and truly finding purpose in what you're doing. So say, for example, someone wants to lose weight. Sure, I want to lose weight. Okay. Well, the question I pose to them is, how much weight exactly do you want to lose? Because if you want to lose weight and you don't have a certain number towards what you want to lose, well, when we start working together, how do we know what is working or what's not? Or how do we know what we're going to deem as being a successful outcome for what we're after? Sure, we might lose 1 kilo. You've lost weight technically. But has that truly hit the goals that you want to achieve? Which ties into purpose with a lot of the work that you do. And I guess within my training, playing semi-pro for 10 years as a footballer, I started to lose my purpose as a footballer, which is why arguably I hung the boots up relatively early. I think it was at the end of 2019, at the end of the season, I stopped playing. I went to pursue season 2020, but COVID hit and essentially the whole season got canned. I did the pre-season leading into it, but we didn't play a single game for season 2020. By the time that year rolled around, it was 2021, and I had that time to really take a step back from the game and think about what was my next move going to be. And was I really feeling the fulfillment and feeling purposeful in what I was doing as a player in the game? And at that stage, I made the decision where I was going to stop playing. And it was a hard one, in fact, because when you've basically set a certain standard for your life where certain days you've been training for football and then all of a sudden you've made the drastic decision to go, nah, not anymore. It was difficult because within the team I was playing, I had very good mates. I had very good mates who I'd shared fond memories with for the good and the bad. But both as a result were good reasons to why it was even harder. But in this situation, I had to be selfish for my well-being, as I was finding what I was doing didn't really fulfill me as what it once did. So I took a step back and I got into coaching. Obviously straight away, I ducked straight into it. But from a training standpoint, as soon as I finished playing football, I needed to find a purpose in what the hell I was going to do. Now, sure, I was still in the gym training. My purpose was in the gym at the time was in-season strength and conditioning, or pre-season or off-season strength and conditioning to facilitate my physical qualities as a footballer. So that was the purpose that I had. Now, obviously I'm not playing the game. I still want to keep fit, but the training that I was going to do would be very different. And I needed to find a purpose within myself as to why I was going to continue training. And there was a period where I was a little bit off. I was still training, still going to the gym, still ticking all the boxes, but I wasn't truly working to the capacity that I knew I was able to. And this simply comes down to me not having a true purpose as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, this doesn't have to be particularly for training. This can literally be for absolutely anything in your life. What is the why of you going out tonight? What is the why of you seeing that person? What is the why of you starting that job? What is the why of you learning that skill set? If you don't have that why thoroughly answered, then you're going to half-ass the approach of whatever you're actually going to do. And that's what I was finding I was doing in that transitionary period when I went from playing football to eventually getting into the sport of boxing. Now, in that transitional period, I was hitting the gym pretty hard and I didn't have a why, and I found my why by actually finding a coach who I submitted to for, I think it was about a year and a half. And this coach pushed me purely from a strength and hypertrophy state training in the gym. And that was the reason that pushed me and gave me the why. Because I set out a goal. Okay, now that I'm not playing football, I want to take my strength training a little bit more seriously. I'm going to hire a coach. He's going to take me to that next level. And as a result, he did that. And as a result of that, me actually investing the time, energy, and finances to put myself in that position, mentally, I had to be in. And mentally, not only did I have a better outcome, I also had a better outcome from a physical standpoint as well, because I knew why the hell I was going to every single gym session that he prescribed to me. Again, coming back to the why. Now, eventually that faded for me. I got to a point where I was like, what am I doing here? Sure, I'm hitting the gym. Sure, I look good. But am I going to be bodybuilding? No. Am I going to do any physique competitions? No. Am I happy with the way I look? Yeah, I mean, sure, there's always ways that you can improve. No one's ever 100% happy. I do not agree with anyone that says that. One sec, café. But I felt as if I got into a point in which I was very, very satisfied, to say the least. But I wanted something more. I wanted something more. So I eventually stopped with that coach, and that's when I transitioned into boxing. And again, all this relates to why. I didn't just sign up to the gym and go, yeah, I'm gonna box a bit. I literally put pen to paper with a good mate of mine, and we said, by this date, we want to get in the ring. That is our sole purpose. So I went in there and put every ounce of my energy into learning the craft of boxing from a fitness standpoint, from a skill standpoint, from a fighting standpoint, everything of that nature. And within, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years, I competed in my first boxing fight. And I won. And it was quite the victory, as I won by knockout. And I reflect on that all the time. I reflect on that all the time because it sounds like it's a really crazy outcome. And look, it's actually arguably the best outcome you can have, don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying it by any means, but it didn't come as a surprise when I reflect now, and now that I'm speaking out loud and reflecting on the amount of hours that I put into doing the work to actually get me the result I was after. It's because I had a why. And the work that I did to get the result that I achieved would never have occurred had I entered the gym without the why. And that's why the why is so important. And that is why when you set goals, you need to have a thorough, clear, precise understanding of the outcome in which you want. Because if you're not serious about the outcome that you want, you're not going to be serious about the training you're going to put in to achieve, well, I was going to say outcome that you want, but you're not even too sure what the want exactly is. So when you put it to like numerical values, if you're a footballer, very easy, striker, how many goals do you want to score? If you're a winger, how many assists? How many goals? How many minutes do you want to play? How many games over the season do you want to play? Things like that where you can quantify them with a certain number, that's going to give you an ability to actually measure it to see if you're successful and reflect on it to see your improvements along the way. What you can't measure, you can't manage. Or what you don't measure, you can't manage. You know, there's an old saying like that. And it's true. It's true. Because later on, after the boxing fight, again, I went through the exact same scenario where I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was still training, and this happened up until about a month ago. I was still boxing, but no desire to fight. I was still training in the gym, but you know, it didn't really matter how hard my punches were because they were never going to get tested against anybody in the arena. So, you know, whether my punch had, you know, 1,000 watts behind it or 950, it was really like, doesn't matter at the end of the day. So the work I was doing in the gym started to lack. And I constantly find myself in these stages where I lack purpose in certain areas. But I quickly find myself. Now, I wanted to do a fight, but things, I wouldn't say pear-shaped, but things in my life changed where I started to make other things a priority. Work started to increase, and the hours that I was able to put in to fight or train myself to prepare to get into the ring again, I had substituted those hours with things that I prioritize more at this time. So maybe in the near future, I don't want to write it off. I'm only 33, but you know, I've been understanding that you know, I'm not getting younger by any means, and I am on somewhat the tail end of, you know, physical combat sports. So my time is limited. But look, at this stage, I've made do what I can do. I still am boxing. I still am training in the gym. However, I've now put pen to paper and I'm looking to, well, I'm not looking to, I am going to compete in a marathon this October. And the reason why I picked the marathon is because training for a marathon allows me the ability to train whenever the hell I can. And I'm not subject to going to the gym on a Tuesday night and training at 6 o'clock only because that's when the sparring class is. Like I said before, my clientele, my schedule is now all over the shop, and what I once thought was something that I was able to do has changed with the change in my timetable. So I can run whenever I have a spare hour, 2 hours as a marathon runner, or training to be a marathon runner. With boxing, I have to be at a certain venue at a certain time to actually acquire the skills and train with the other fighters. And my time at this point is very limited. So I moved into marathon training, and the effects that I've had from a fulfillment standpoint is literally immediately. I went from fluffing around in my training, putting in good amount of effort, but in the back of my mind, knowing to myself, yeah, you could do a little bit more. You could do a little bit more. And as soon as I made the decision to do a marathon, bang, out of nowhere, I'm just like, it's like it's a sense of fulfillment. I have a reason to get up and train way more than what I did only a matter of 3 weeks ago, which is crazy because it's literally a mental decision that you snap just like that. And my output, everything, is monumentally better. And I wouldn't even say that's just for training. That's for everything. My focus is so much more sharper because now I have a set desired outcome that I want to chase from a physical standpoint, me training for the marathon. And this ties back into in-season strength and conditioning. Because when you're a footballer, or any athlete for that matter, but we'll talk footballer specifically at this point, if you don't know your purpose as to what outcomes you want to achieve as a footballer, then what hope do you have of not only partaking in the game in which you're playing at the highest level, but then also doing your supplementation, strength and conditioning work on the sidelines to the highest level? Now, I've got clients from amateurs up to the professional levels, even youth athletes. And it doesn't matter whether you're a pro, semi-pro, amateur, youth athlete. This does not discriminate. If you do not have purpose, if you do not have a why, then it's going to make everything else a lot harder. I bet you my bottom dollar, you have an outcome of wanting to get to a certain level, a certain strength level, so you can make a certain team. You're going to go into the gym with a little bit more venom in everything that you do. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to always be in that state of mind because, it's very difficult to keep yourself at a highly motivated level. But your general platform will be a lot higher than someone that isn't. And those moments, most important, those moments when you cannot be bothered, because we all go through them. We all go through them. Those moments when you can't be bothered, if you have a purpose in mind, there is a greater chance that you are going to overcome that unmotivated feeling and get your ass up and go to the gym than the person that is just fluffing around and just playing because it's routine and they don't know what else to do. It's 100% fact. Because I have guys that I coach and I see it with the intensity, with the level of commitment, how they fade in and out. So if you don't have a purpose behind what the hell you're doing, you can forget. Everything is just hoping. You're going to hope to get the best results. Hoping's bullshit. You got to do the work. There's a serious world out there where results need to be met and work needs to be done. You can't, touch some crystal rocks and look at the stars and hope for some crap like that to align. You either do the work or you don't. As simple as that. It is simple as that. And those that do the work have the outcome. Well, you know what? Those that do the work aren't promised anything. They're guaranteed nothing. I actually had a conversation, remember, a couple years ago, when I was working as an assistant coach, I had a conversation with a goalkeeper. And this goalkeeper was the second goalkeeper in the team. And he wasn't playing much. And he came up to us and he goes, "I've been working hard." And I actually laughed at him. You know what I said? I go, "Mate, working hard doesn't mean shit. Working hard is the bare minimum. You can't use working hard as a way of bragging or hoping that you're going to get in the team. Everyone's working hard. That's the bare minimum. Working hard is like waking up in the morning and breathing. That's the bare minimum in order to survive. Now sure, well done for working hard. You've ticked the box. But all working hard is going to do is guarantee you more opportunities. But it's not going to guarantee you a result. Because you can work hard and still drop the ball. You can work hard and still be crap. Your skills still need to be at a level in which you're able to be selected in the team. So sure, good on you. You work hard. But so is everybody else. So I'm afraid that's not good enough. Good on you for doing it, but keep doing it. And to be quite honest with you, I'll be straight out. Most athletes that think they're working hard, sure, I guess they're pushing themselves to, capacities in which they deem is working hard. But let me tell you that unless you've put in an environment which is foreign to you, which is better than you, that's when you truly get an understanding of whether you're working hard or not. And this is another important thing I want to mention when it comes to transitioning and finding new things to do. Whenever I used to play football, every time I would go to a new club, I felt more of a need to push myself to another level because I had new people that I needed to impress, because I was now setting a new reputation of who I was because they didn't know who I was. And every time I found myself at a new club, the result was I just transformed into a better and better player. So when you're in an environment which you've been there and you're comfortable and it's stale, I encourage you to move on. Find purpose in moving and going to another club, despite being there for so long. It is very important for you to move. Unless you are at a team in which that is the best in the world or best in the division or some outlier, then I encourage you to move. Even if it's within a team in the same division, move. If a coach comes in and you're in the same team, a new coach comes in, everyone starts playing good. Everyone. You need to actually bring that mindset to every type of training session that you do. I think it was Michael Jordan. He was saying something, and it was along the lines of he played every single game as if there was someone in the crowd watching him play ball for the first time. Because there's going to be someone out there watching you for the first time and they're going to pass judgment on how good of a player you are or how good of a person you are. And you might be Michael Jordan per se, but they rock up to the game and you've missed every shot. They're going to think you're shit because that's the impression that you've left on them. Now, moving on to in-season strength and conditioning. Now, this ties into purpose as well, quite a lot. And I mentioned it earlier because a lot of players that don't have a why or a thorough understanding of their why from what they want to achieve on the football field makes it very difficult for them to find an outcome that they're after in the gym. And in-season strength and conditioning is, I believe, probably the most important part of your strength and conditioning protocol throughout the year. More important than off-season, more important than pre-season, more important than anything else. Now, the reason why I believe that is because firstly, it's the time in which the least amount of people are doing it. Secondly, it's the hardest time in which to do it, which is why the least amount of people do it. And thirdly, it's going to give you the best returns on your invested time. Now take, for example, someone that worked in the off-season and pre-season and built themselves up to a certain strength level, all right? Let's just use 100 kilo squat, for example, as a unit of reference. Now they've worked all off-season, pre-season. They're squatting 100 kgs. Soon as the ball hits their feet, and I went through this too, don't get me wrong, but I see it a lot now, and I try to eradicate this out of the mindset of a lot of players. Soon as the ball hits their feet and they start playing, they immediately think, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm not going to go to the gym anymore. In fear of feeling lethargic, in fear of feeling heavy, in fear of not knowing how to train properly, and they're putting the sport as a priority, which should happen, but that doesn't mean you completely eradicate the gym. Now, what happens to this athlete that works hard in the off season, comes back in the preseason, starts the season squatting 100 kilos? They come into the season hot property. Mate, they're rocking. They're strong. They're quick. They're at their peak. Now, they don't maintain the strength. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the term, if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, the same rules apply here. You don't continue squatting, your squat numbers are going to drop. Now, what relevance does squatting have to the soccer field, may you ask? A heap. Now, squatting is general strength qualities in which you require. Sure, you're not going to squat in a game, but if your squat numbers slowly but surely drop off week to week to week to week to week, you may not feel the effects within the first 2 weeks. 3-4 months down the line, where you're a weaker player in comparison to what you were round one, a few things are going to happen. Firstly, you're not going to be able to compete at the same level that you came into the season. So your performance is guaranteed to diminish. Guaranteed. You're not going to be as strong. If you're not as strong, you're not as powerful. If you're not as powerful, you're not as quick. So if you're not as quick, if the things that you were doing that were speed related that got you over the line in round one, well, you're not going to be able to compete and hold that up in round 8, 9, 10. So, firstly, coaches are going to see that. They're going to see your loss in output in your performance. Because your output as a player is going to diminish, you now have to work harder to push your body to achieve the same outcome that it was doing 2 months ago very easily. Now, not only are you pushing your body harder to put in the same work, your body's also now weaker because you haven't been maintaining your strength. And when your body is weaker, your muscles are weaker. And when you're pushing yourself harder and you're weaker to attain the same level of output that you had at the start of the year, because that's the standards in which you set, what do you think is the more likely scenario to occur for your muscles? Injury or non-injury? Exactly. Injury. Now, you find yourself injured. 2, 3, 4 weeks. Say it's 2. 2 weeks off the field. 1 week rehabbing. 3 weeks are gone here. Now you might need another 2 weeks on the bench to warm yourself back in the team, or another 2 weeks in the reserves. You just lost a whole month of football. Bang, like that. Whole month of football. I coach guys that play 22 rounds a year. 4 games of that is almost 20% of the season gone. Just like that. So your goal a game goal that you may have had to achieve, pack it up, mate. Don't worry about it. See you later. Yamal for Barcelona has done 100 caps and he's 17 years old for Barcelona. Now, sure, he's a great player. But do you think that just happened because he was a durable athlete by fluke? No. Mate, the guy's in the gym. He has to be. He's no way going to have that level of output, and he's no way going to be able to have that level of output at that capacity. The gym needs to occur in season. Now, do you train the same way in the off season? No. But it still needs to occur, no ifs, no buts, in order for you to maintain your strength, maintain your performance, and give yourself another layer to go into the next year. Have you ever wondered why 26, 27-year-olds are in their peak condition as footballers? Have you ever wondered that? The answer is because at 17, they did an off-season. They built themselves up. Then in that in-season phase, they maintained that strength. Once they turned 18, added another layer. Now they're here. in the off season, maintained. Turn 19, add another layer in the off season, maintained. 20, add another layer. Layer upon layer upon layer. By the time they're 26, let's go back to that squat number we were talking about, 100 kgs. Well, now they're pushing like 130, 140. So they're a far stronger, durable athlete. And at the same time, they've had more reps in the game. So they're more mature. They've obviously grown into a more mature state of mind, more mature state of minded man. And they've had more reps on the ball because they've been playing more football. And that is why the best players typically find themselves in their mid to late 20s. Because they've had the ability to play more, be in the gym more, and have more experience in life overall. So yes, the training changes, and some weeks you may not even go to the gym because the load is so drastic where you've got a cup game friendly and this or that and a couple of training sessions, but you still need to maintain it to a certain extent. Otherwise, you're going to have diminishing returns and you're just going to have to restart every single year. So if you don't want to fall into that category, be sure to maintain your S&C. Now, if you want some help with your S&C training in season, check out the link in the description. I have an in-season ebook for you. It's going to outline the top 5 reasons as to why you should continue in-season training and a template for you to do for your in-season training. And if you haven't already, check out my Instagram. I post daily stories, reels, tips, tricks to assist you on becoming the best footballer you can be. Check it out. Chris Tahma's Fit, pinned in the comments. All links in the description. I'll catch you on the next one.